Valerie stood outside the Nwosu mansion the next morning, suitcase in hand, heart pounding like a drum in a street parade. She wasn't just walking into a house, she was stepping into a new chapter, a chapter she didn't even plan for. She looked up at the gigantic black gate, took a deep breath, and rang the bell. Linda opened it with her usual playful grin. "Welcome to your new house, Jor. Come and collect your destiny." Valerie laughed lightly, trying not to cry. Her emotions were all over the place. Fear, hope, confusion, relief, and that annoying flutter in her chest that had started showing up every time Daniel was near. When she walked into the house, the twins ran down the stairs like excited puppies. "She's back! She's really back!" Ava screamed, jumping into Valerie's arms. "You didn't change your mind," Aiden added, clutching her waist like someone afraid of losing her again. Valerie smiled and hugged them tight. "I miss you two troublemakers." "We are not troublemakers," Ava said, folding her arms. "We're little hurricanes." Valerie burst out laughing. "Exactly." From that day, life took a new shape. Valerie wasn't just the nanny anymore. She was the heartbeat of the house. The mansion, once cold and full of silence, now echoed with laughter, burnt toast experiments, and schoolbag drama. She handled breakfast like a chef on a live TV show, packed their lunch with love notes that read, "Eat your fruits or else," and organized their homework time like an army drill sergeant. In fact, if the house had a crown, it now sat firmly on her braided head. Daniel, on the other hand, watched her from the background, always with that quiet gaze. Something had changed in the way he looked at her. It wasn't just respect anymore. It wasn't even gratitude. It was something softer, something warmer, something dangerous. One night after the twins had gone to bed, Valerie came into the living room wearing a simple t-shirt and wrapper, her hair wrapped in a loose scarf. She looked exhausted, but Daniel couldn't stop staring. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling through a proposal on his tablet. "You work too hard," he said without looking up. "And you sleep too little," she replied, plopping beside him with a sigh. They sat there in silence, watching a comedy movie neither of them was really following. The twins had picked it, and both of them were too tired to switch the channel. Then something happened. Valerie laughed at a ridiculous scene on the TV, that kind of deep belly laugh that made her throw her head back. Daniel turned to look at her, and he couldn't stop. "You have a nice laugh," he said quietly. She turned to face him, surprised. "Thank you, sir." "Daniel," he corrected softly. "Call me Daniel." There was another silence. But this one? It was loaded, the kind that made your skin tingle. Valerie looked away first, but Daniel reached out and touched her hand. She didn't pull back. Their eyes met. Their hearts raced. And then, slowly, as if the moment had been waiting forever, he kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't confused. It was warm, gentle, and full of every unsaid word between them. But just as quickly as it started, Valerie pulled away, eyes wide like she had just stolen meat from a pot. "I'm sorry," she whispered, standing up like the couch was on fire. "Good night." And she rushed off to her room, heart slamming like a drum. For the next few days, things in the house were weird. Valerie couldn't look Daniel in the eye without remembering the kiss. Daniel kept trying to act normal, but he was clearly distracted. He started pouring salt into his tea and sugar into the soup. Linda noticed too and whispered one morning, "Una don kiss Abi? Eat a show for face." Valerie nearly spilled pap on herself, but it all came to a head on a Friday evening when Daniel called her to the balcony after dinner. The kids were asleep and the air smelled of rain and clean laundry. "Valerie," he said, standing with his back to her, "I've been trying to ignore this, but I can't. I like you. I don't even know when it started, but I do. I really do." She blinked, then blinked again. "I like you too," she admitted slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. He turned, relief washing over his face. "So, we're not crazy?" "Oh, we're definitely crazy," she said with a small laugh. "But at least we're crazy together." They both laughed and stood in silence again, until Daniel stretched out his hand and said, "Come, let's figure this out together." She reached for his hand, and just like that, the mansion didn't just feel like home anymore. It was home. Daniel and Valerie had been dating in secret for 6 months. 6 whole months of pretending like they were just boss and staff. Meanwhile, they were sneaking smiles at each other over gull of rice, passing notes on the kitchen counter, and having long, soft conversations in the garden after the kids went to bed. No kissing, no funny business. Just 2 adults trying their best to love quietly and respectfully. It wasn't easy, especially not with Ava and Aiden always peeping around corners like little CIA agents. Valerie would be fluffing the pillows in the living room and suddenly feel small eyes burning a hole in her back. Turn around. Nothing. Just curtains dancing. Or so she thought. Sometimes when Daniel came back from work and handed her flowers or snacks, he'd whisper, "For your hard work," and she'd blush like a schoolgirl. But now it was time. One Friday evening, while Valerie helped Ava braid her hair, and Daniel and Aiden played chess on the floor, she looked at Daniel and gave a tiny nod. He nodded back. Time to spill the beans. "Aiden, Ava," Daniel cleared his throat, sitting up straight. "There's something important we want to tell you." Valerie sat beside him, her heart pounding. "We've been spending time together. As in, we like each other. Valerie and I, we're dating." The silence was loud. Then Ava dropped her comb. "Daddy," she blinked slowly, then burst out laughing. "We know." Aiden joined her. "We've known since the day you pretended to blow her eyes in the kitchen, but your mouth was too close." Valerie's mouth dropped. "And that time on the balcony," Ava added, giggling, "you were holding her hand and said, 'You make this house feel like home.' I was behind the curtain." Daniel covered his face with both hands. Valerie gasped. "You little hurricanes." "We're not mad," Aiden said. "We like her. We already told our friends in school that our daddy has a girlfriend and she's the best cook in the world." Valerie blinked back tears. She looked at Daniel and mouthed, "They're okay with it?" He smiled and mouthed back, "I think they love it." Later that night, as Valerie tucked them in, Aiden hugged her tight. "I'm happy you're our daddy's girlfriend." "Me too," Ava whispered. "You feel like mommy, but with a better sense of humor." Valerie kissed their foreheads and turned off the light, her heart full to the brim. The secret was out, and it felt right. A few months after Daniel and Valerie broke the news of their relationship to the twins, they decided it was time to take the next step. It was a simple, intimate wedding, nothing too fancy. This was their second marriage, and both of them wanted something meaningful, not flashy. Aiden proudly wore his tiny navy blue suit and marched down the aisle as the little groom. Ava, radiant in a soft pink dress with lace gloves, served as the little bride. The 2 children stole the show, scattering rose petals and giggling through their roles like seasoned wedding professionals. Linda, of course, was front row and loud. She didn't miss a beat in teasing Valerie, whispering during the ceremony, "Who would have thought my stubborn friend would end up marrying our Olga?" Valerie rolled her eyes playfully. "God works overtime," she whispered back. They exchanged simple vows under a canopy of flowers in the garden of the Nwosu mansion. It wasn't a grand hall or fancy event center. It was home, and for the first time in a long time, Valerie truly felt at home. But just a month after the wedding, something strange happened. Valerie missed her period. She brushed it off. "It's probably the wedding stress," she told herself. The changes, the adjustment, it had to be that. But then the second month came. No period. She brushed it off. "It's probably the wedding stress," she told herself. The changes, the adjustment, it had to be that. But then the second month came. No period. Then came the fatigue, and then the nausea, and then the unexpected fever. Valerie found herself in front of the mirror one morning, staring at her reflection. It can't be. No, it can't. But something inside her refused to rest until she checked. So she quietly bought a pregnancy test kit from a pharmacy down the street. She waited, paced, came back. 2 bold pink lines. She blinked hard. No. I didn't see that well." She took another test, and another, and yet again, each one bolder than the last. She sat on the bathroom floor, stunned, speechless. 5 years of trying in her former marriage. 5 years of tests, disappointment, tears, prayers, and insults. And now, just 1 month after marrying Daniel? She didn't want to raise his hopes. What if something was wrong? So quietly, she booked an appointment at a private clinic the next morning. The doctor smiled after the scan. "Congratulations, Mrs. Nwosu. You're 8 weeks pregnant." Valerie stared at him. "8 what?" "8 weeks. Your baby is healthy and growing beautifully." Tears spilled down her cheeks uncontrollably. She looked at the scan print in her hand like it was a dream. That evening, when Daniel came home, tired from work, he dropped his keys and stretched. "You look like someone who has a secret," he said, pulling off his tie. Valerie didn't say a word. She simply handed him the scan paper. Daniel looked at it, his brow furrowed at first, then his mouth parted slowly. "Val, are you?" She nodded, tears already on her face. "I'm pregnant, Daniel. We're going to have a baby." He dropped to his knees, arms around her waist, his own tears flooding. He kissed her hands, her belly, her forehead. "Thank you," he whispered over and over. A few days later, they gathered Ava and Aiden in the living room. "We have some news," Daniel began. "Are we getting a dog?" Aiden asked. "No, better than a dog," Valerie said, laughing. "I'm pregnant." The twins stared. "Like, we're going to be big siblings?" Ava asked, wide-eyed. Valerie nodded. Aiden screamed and ran around the room. "I'm going to teach the baby how to eat cereal with no milk." Ava hugged Valerie's belly gently. "Hi, baby. I'm your big sister." The room was full of joy, laughter, and a new kind of peace. For Valerie, it wasn't just a new chapter. It was a rebirth. And for Daniel, it was healing. The family had grown by one heartbeat, and everything was finally falling into place. It had been 3 months since the family announced the pregnancy, and Valerie's baby bump was now loud and proud, a 5-month miracle that followed her everywhere. Her skin glowed like polished cocoa butter, her cheeks fuller, her walk slower but softer. Daniel doted on her like a lovesick schoolboy, and the twins had turned into junior bodyguards, always patting her belly and shouting, "Don't stress our baby." One sunny afternoon, the intercom buzzed. The gateman's voice crackled through. "Ha! Madam, there's someone at the gate. He says his name is Martins." Silence. Valerie slowly looked up from the lemon tea she was sipping in the garden. Her heart didn't race. It didn't shake. It simply whispered, "So it has come to this." A few minutes later, Martins was ushered into the lavish living room. His shoulders drooped, his eyes looked like they'd been drained with sorrow, and his shirt hung on him like he'd lost weight and pride at the same time. He didn't know. Valerie came in, her round belly leading the way, glowing in a soft lavender gown and slippers. The moment Martin saw her, he froze mid-step. Valerie raised an eyebrow. "What are you doing here?" Martin swallowed hard. His lips trembled. I made a terrible mistake, Valerie. I came to beg for your forgiveness. I was blind, stupid, cruel. Everything my mother said, everything I did, I regret it all." Valerie said nothing. She stared at him calmly, like someone observing the last flicker of a candle. His eyes dropped to her belly. "You're pregnant?" She nodded. His eyes welled up with tears. "I didn't know. You were married." "I am," she replied gently. "For months now. I forgave you a long time ago, Martins. But I'm in a better place now, a peaceful place, and I intend to stay there." He wiped his eyes slowly, looked around the elegant living room, then back at the woman he had once called Baron Lizard. "You look, well, genuinely well. I'm happy for you. Truly." Valerie gave a sad smile. "Take care of yourself, Martins." Just then, Daniel appeared from the hallway, calm and composed. He gave Martins a gentlemanly nod. Martins stood up and extended his hand. "Thank you for taking care of her." Daniel shook it briefly. "And thank you for leaving her behind. I got lucky." Martins gave one last look at Valerie, then turned to leave. Daniel followed him out and quietly walked him to the gate. With his hand on the gate handle, Daniel turned to him and said, "For your own peace, don't come back here again. She deserves to live forward, not backward." Martins nodded. "Understood." And with that, the gate closed behind him. Daniel walked back into the house, found Valerie in the living room, kissed her on the forehead, and said, "That chapter's closed." Valerie rested her head on his chest. Forever. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up until I bring the next intriguing story your way again. Bye for now.